The key is that's the list of countries. The first letters are the key. So if we turn the sound back up again, and 2:30, come down the band a bit. I try and find what a picture sounds like when you're up. That's how we can get to come. And I bet if I get there, there's no pictures. Come on, 0.7. It shouldn't be there. Right, I'll give him a call and he comes back again. Get him tuned in. But QRZ, this is Golf Bravo 1, Charlie Hotel Fox, they're standing by. You heard me? Italy.
Wow.
Literally Italy. Go, this is Mike 1, Delta Uniform Charlie. My call sign is Mike, number 1, Delta, a Uniform Charlie. My name is John there. Back to you, sir. And so it's just, you know.
This is the old side of it.
He would then go to his men and go, right, I want Bill, Bertie, Steve and Fred. Anyone else want to come along for the ride? Sound okay. Yeah, it was a voluntary basis, whereas German troops were specially selected if they liked it or not. If they had something that the German army liked, they'd be selected to do it.
Well, no, it's actually a very different process. We make sure we don't leave anyone behind, but mums and dads, if you need any children lost for a small fee, that can be arranged.
Jake, you are the most favourite candidate.
You don't want to say nothing.
Not yet.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Coalhouse 4.
What was that?
Everybody out?
I don't even know what that was.
It's a ghost show.
It's a bit started, it's stuff from the scene.
Oh, goodness. Place to look at
Collapsing.
What was it?
It's a bit stone.
Ghost show.
Fell from up there.
Bit of rust. Yeah, unfortunately, we've got a little bit of water in the tunnels from the rain last night. We had the thunderstorms come through last night, and this is not as watertight as it used to be 3 years ago. Right, welcome to Coalhouse 4. What we're going to do is give you a little tour around the fort. It's going to take about 35 to 45 minutes, depending on the questions. We're going to kick off going around this area here through the tunnels. Okay. Then we'll go up onto the first floor and look at the guns in the fort, and then eventually we'll go up onto the roof, and you get to see how the landscape and how the fort blends into the whole area around here. Now, wood lining on, the next one here still has its wood lining. But it's again, so when the big metal cannonballs or shells have been winched up, you don't want them hitting the brickwork and sparking, okay, because of the gunpowder again. So that was.
Why these little rooms for?
I'll explain that in a moment, young man, don't you worry. This one's still got the wood lining in it.
Whoa!
Right.
There's a kid there, oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
See, Sally? You didn't tip enough, did you?
Right, it will come as no great shock to you to work out that this is written down one of the magazines, and this is one of the shell magazines where they install the shell. There's 9 of these and 3 slightly smaller guns of 9 inches. Okay?
Where's the 12.5 inches in that?
He's been lying to you.
Inside the barrel, they would have gone all the way down. Those grooves would join into these lugs here, and what that does when it fires it spins the shell, makes it more accurate, you get greater range, and it penetrates harder. It took 16 men to man one of these guns, each gun, okay, and each had a specific job to do. Some of them would be the original ones, and we put levers in here to move the gun from side to side. And bear in mind, that's 38 tonnes, and this is 18 tonnes on the chassis. So this is an awful lot of weight you have to manoeuvre, but because it's mounted on these rails and wheels, you could just manoeuvre them from side to side. They have blocks and tackles as well.
Could you get into this if you needed to?
Yeah, well, yes, I come in here every Wednesday. You're stealing some of my script here. Right, Paul and I are volunteers, and we come down here on Wednesdays to help restore some bits of the fort and restore some of this equipment. And as the gentleman rightly pointed out, this is an old World War II fire pump. Taxis used to pull them around London. They'd be parked up at various street corners. A taxi would hitch up, or a bus would hitch up to it during the Blitz, and they were used it. But the last one of these that was used actually was on Canvey Island in the 1950s when Canvey flooded, and it was used to help pump the island out. Yeah, 53 when the island flooded. So they were still used it now. We haven't, unfortunately this one isn't a working model, it's got all the gear on it, but part of the engine doesn't work anymore, which is a bit of a shame. This is an old fortress projector or searchlight, as we probably know them. This was used mainly in these sort of fortresses for going across the river rather than anti-aircraft, but the later modifications of these were for anti-aircraft type guns. Okay, so it's just an example of some of the things that Paul and I get up to on a Wednesday when we start restore some of this. Finished up from last year.
Is that Ford one? Or Golden Climate Club?
No, it's neither. It's a white Pope actually.
Oh, right. No, I'm talking about the engine.
Oh no, it's white plug engines.
Oh, right.
The later ones are Coalhouse ones.
I was going to say,
Yeah, exactly.
it's got football, that, you know.
Vickers is in the motorbike Vickers as well.
Yes, a lot of these big factories that we had, like
course,
BSA,
have been used for it, yeah,
they've been
of course.
used by the Ministry of Defence behind them. That is one of the light bulbs, that's a replacement light bulb in that case there. That's 10,000 watts. So if you imagine a normal light bulb at home is about 60 watts, and you've now got probably low energy 3.5 watt LED lights, 10,000 watts.
I say a candle light's equivalent to about a watt, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
So 10,000 candles, imagine.
That's
Takes a lot
not
of light.
original either. In terms of the actual projector was a carbon arc, which created two big rods with a load of electrical current going through it, create a spark and burn the carbon down. This was a later modification by the circus, where we got 2 searchlights from the circus, which is where they came from. Anyway, that's not Paul and it wouldn't do you any good at all.
I'd love to see it on that.
You'd have to go spend. Well, the one we're still working on in the other room. Actually, you see that light up there, the big square one? That's off of a petrol station forecourt. It's one of those big sodium arc lights. We've taken one of those, bastardised it, we've taken the bulb mechanism out and we've put one in. So the other one we're working on at the moment, we will have that lit. What we're going to do is then project it up onto the ceiling up there. No, we're not going to put the Batman on it. But actually, who's watched the Batman films? Batman Begins.
Talking about that.
Yeah, right. So Christian Bale was actually mud wrestling down in that forecourt down there. And these iron bars here actually aren't original in the form. This is all film set from the prison that was meant to be the Mongolian jail that he was in when they were filming in this courtyard. So these go in through the other doors. Doors in the other ones. Right, come this way guys, we'll go upstairs.
Yeah, not the fan call.
If you went that way along it, for far enough, you'd come to near where we live.
What are those?
That bit up there was the original roof of the fort. These buildings up on the top here didn't exist. Okay, these were all later additions in sort of in the 1900s before the First World War, and then some of them were Second World War. In fact, these stairs didn't exist either. Okay, that wouldn't have been the way you'd have got up there. You'd have got up to the iron gantry stairs on the outside. The gun would have sat on here, sat on 2 rails, very similar design to the one downstairs that we looked at. And would have been blocks and tackles on either side, iron rings on either side, and you'd have pulled it and blocks and tackles to move it from side to side.
Where are the things to get up to the gunpowder up here?
Oh, well, this is where it all changed.
And now what?
This is where it all changed.
This is a 12-pounder marked replica.
Make it go up there. Leave
It is indeed.
Leave it down there.
Yeah.
So you
It might be loaded, you never know.
yeah. Shoot it.
Okay, so before we talk about the guns and that, I'll just talk about the orientation of what we're looking at from up here. So you can see this, the wet moat here, and then you've got the River Thames. When the tide's well in at the moment, opposite over the bank over there is Kent. That way, and I used to be able to say you used to look at 2 big chimneys up there, and that's Tilbury Power Station, but unfortunately the chimneys have been knocked down, so I can't say that anymore, but Tilbury's up that way and Gravesend opposite. Go down that way, you've got the river comes at a right angle round here and it goes around that way. Stanford Hope, South End, Canvey Island, off down that way out to the estuary. What island where?
Like far over.
No, that's not the island, that's
That's,
Kent.
that's Kent over there.
That's Kent. That's
Yeah.
well near.
Yeah, it is. That's what I said, the river's narrow enough to be defendable with gold gunpowder and such shells. Now, I said also this fort was part of 76 forts. They built 3 here. One here we're standing in. And then if you look across the river, you can see in the middle of the river there's a red and white post in the river. Okay, can everyone see that? Roughly where the gun's pointing. If your eye goes slightly right to that, on the other bank you can see a low dark shape, low black shape. That's the remains of Shornmead Fort, which is another fort, exactly the same replica of this. Okay, and then just behind this tree, and we'll see it better from the next place we stand on the roof, but there's Cliff Fort. So what that provided was 3 forts that had a triangulated arc of fire across the river. So if anyone did sail up the middle of the river in a big sailing ship, a big warship, you could have attacked it from both sides. Okay.
Yeah, so you fire it that way anyway.
Actually, that's one of the points I didn't mention downstairs. Those big guns downstairs, they haven't never actually fired them in anger, but it was test fired. Okay, and the test firing was really successful, unless you were one of the residents of East Tilbury Village who lost several of their windows from the shockwave from the firing of the gun. We also have one of the rounds down in that room downstairs, and you can go back in that room after the tour. Is an original that was fired from Cliff Fort and had landed in the mud out here and was dragged out the Thames, and it is an original shell. You can still see the remnants or the remains of it. Now, I said one round every 2 minutes downstairs. Okay, the boats are now smaller, they're faster, they've got engines on them. The big guns are no longer fit for purpose, so the fort needed to be rearmed. And they were rearmed with guns like this, which is a quick firing gun. Okay, the reason that this was much better, okay, is my willing assistant here is just about to demonstrate for me. Grab hold of that handle with both hands and wind it. The gun is now much more manoeuvrable. And you can wind it back the other way. There, go on, that's it. So now you can traverse quite quickly. It doesn't take as many men to operate a gun like this. The other thing is the rounds now go in here, and it's a round that's got the case and the shell all in one unit. So you don't need separate gunpowder. You open the breech, put the shell in, close the breech. This fires 25 rounds a minute. Okay. These guns were based, there's a little grey grassy mound down there with a concrete block in it. That's the quick firing battery. Okay, there's one there, and there's one behind the church in East Tilbury Village. There's another 4-gun position there. The quick firing batteries are placed there. Also, at the just before the First World War, they refitted one of the great big battleships, HMS Hood. And 2 of the guns from HMS Hood were bought from there and refitted onto the roof of the fort. Now these are huge, great battleship guns. To give you some sort of idea of the scale, similar gun barrels are the ones that are placed outside between the fort entrance and the cafe. Okay, just outside the fort here. They're 6-inch guns, and they came off of another battleship. They weren't off HMS Hood, but those were facing that way. They could fire 8 miles, okay, which would get you down well past Canby. Okay, so that gives you a bit of coverage down there.
Oh, so that's the reason the hood got sunk there, because you nicked its guns?
No, they put better guns on it. But it was sunk not long after that, like 2 years after that.
Why?
You get shot? He got shot, yeah. It was in enemy action, he got shot. Okay. I couldn't tell you that. I'm not an expert on what happened to the survivors of HMS Hood, if there were any.
Make sure you find out all that we want to know.
Yeah. Now.
You want to know how many people got off the hood?
Go on in. 3. There we go. 3 people.
Are you one of them?
You're not 122.
His dad was on the hood, and he clung onto a piece of teak railing to get to the float and was picked up. When he got home, he had that railing turned into serviette pins.
Cool.
Stuck and fishing off and technical. This was tipped off the hood.
Cool.
Mate's dad, so what one was the
Now, we're going to move a little bit further forward. We've just talked still about the First World War, just before the First World War. The London Electrical Engineers moved in here, so they've now got electricity down here. They had a generator room outside where the cafe now is. And these 2 buildings up here were constructed where they put 2 projectors in. And so those projectors would have scanned across the river. So we now had light at night.
Searchlight, Jake.
That's the searchlight. So these small fast boats didn't have to wait for the tides because of the depth of the river. They could come up at other times, and now they could come up at night, so we now had defence against them with the searchlights at night. Before we get there, now we get to the Second World War, and we've got another problem. Another change of technology. So these guns, they're not expecting anyone to really try and sail up the river anymore. Okay, what's the next big technological change, do you think?
Up there.
Not quite helicopters, we're not quite there yet. We
Aeroplanes?
had aeroplanes. They had airships originally, Zeppelins. Okay? Zeppelins and then biplanes and triplanes that could fly over. They would have navigated by flying up the river. The thing is, they could also navigate by looking out the window saying, oh look, there's a big fort down there. They might have soldiers who can fire at us, we won't fire over that fort. They'll going to go up that way and fly around the north. We cottoned onto this quite quickly. So our anti-aircraft battery was placed half a mile up that way at Low Waters Farm. So whilst the soldiers were still down here, the anti-aircraft battery was up there. Okay, so they could still man that and still protect. And that's one of many anti-aircraft batteries.
For the buildings around the back of the play area.
No, that's the quick fire battery. That's the other quick fire battery there. This one is you go out the village, there's a little U-turn in the road, and one little road takes you down to West Tilbury. You go down there and there's a right angle in the road. There's a farm there, and if that's over at the farm, is where the anti-aircraft battery was up there. Right, come this way and we'll go to the next bit up here. Come on, dog, sorry, you're in the low there.
Dad, can you take a photo?
Across there, you see two big piles of sand on the other side. Goes slightly right to the pile of sand, you see a big dark shape on there, that's Cliff Fault. You can still go to visit these two other faults over here, Shawmead and Cliff. Shawmead after the Second World War was used as demolition practice by the Ministry of Defence, and so it's been blown apart. There's still some remnants there. Cliff was in better condition. Unfortunately though, the gravel extraction raised the water table over there and it's now sunk into the marsh. And so the water is now up to the first floor level. So it's the same fault as this, and all the tunnels are now underwater over there. Little square window in it, little square bit back on the side. Then from there was two cables that went from there right under the river and back again. Okay, and there was a couple of wrens, Women's Royal Navy Service girls, that would be sat in those little room up there. They had a load of dials and equipment in front of them. And what they used to measure was the signature, the magnetic signature of boats going past. Now, why was that important? Because of the enemy, absolutely. What the enemy had done, out in the estuary, out past Southend, they'd laid a load of things called magnetic mines. Now these are big sea mines that sit in the water with big weights and chains on them, hold them to the seabed. And they sit there quite happy as Larry until something with a big magnetic signature sails across the top of them. And the big magnetic signature is just sailing up the river just now. So what we used to do is get electrical cable, wrap it all around the hull of the boat, and put an electrical generator and pass electric current through the cable, and that would reverse the magnetic signature. The boat would then sail down here, sail across the cables underneath this river, and the girls in that little room up there would watch the needles on the meters. If it didn't move the needles, they knew it was safe to sail over the magnetic mines and wouldn't set the mines off down in the estuary. If it did move the needles, they could stop the boat, turn it round, send it back to the docks, they'd have the cabling redone. This was called degaussing. Gauss is a measurement of magnetism. And they could sort of then get the boat redone, send it back out here, and away it went. And this was the fort's biggest contribution during the Second World War. Okay? I will just talk about this gun here. This isn't the original gun from the fort. The top bit is 1943, the barrel and the breech. The bottom bit is actually off a naval ship. And in fact it was last redone in 1987, so it's actually fairly recent. My lad over here was asking, well, how do you fire it? Well, this is the special trick, so if you just let me get in here. Better than that. Have you got an Xbox or a PlayStation? Yeah, you got. Yeah, so, you know how these things work, yeah, right. This is the seat, right. That. That. And in here. Oh, mind your knees. There we go. Mind your nut. One of you wants to hop in there, Sophia?
Well, let Sophia go first, Jake.
There you go. Hop in your hop. There you go. Up you
Did
go,
you
boy.
shut that when someone's in there? Safe, no?
You've given me an idea now.
Leave behind.
And in here you've got a joystick controller, so this is how you move it from side to side. And you've got the buttons on here for going up and down. And down there there's a foot switch, that's how you fired it. So that's the bit you were talking about, that's how you fired it. This bit is for the loader stands on the back there, and that's the speaker. These guns, when they were on the warships, they could be connected in groups of 3 or 6. They all had electric motors on them, and one guy sat here could have all 3 guns, or all 6 guns, connected and all firing at the same point at the same target, or they could run them individually. Okay? You want to come round and have a sit in here? There we go. The big red button in there that everyone looks at, oh, the big red button must have been firing. No, that turns the heater on, because it was cold on some of these ships, apparently. Right, and you would have been looking up here, there was a sight mechanism on here, and so this is the sight you'd have been using for what you were firing at. Yeah. Where you shoot aeroplanes, you shoot any sort of target.
What about boats?
You could shoot other boats if you wanted to.
So you want like in condition for it?
Yeah. You've got to bring the barrel down a bit to get more at your level. Okay.
So when it's stiff on this, like would they like dip?
No, well they would eventually, but they all bullets do. They fire enough away.
Mind your head.
Right, mind that.
Mind your head. There you go.
Right.